Man, this is it, calculator. This is it. Man, fantasy football season has come and gone, man. Just that fast. Boy, I mean,
M- Mr. 4-1, it,
when
it,
uh,
it, it ended before it even started, it seemed like. Goodness
it did, man.
gracious.
It feels like yesterday we were just breaking down the terminology.
Yeah, I remember the term show.
Yeah, I mean, and now all of a sudden, week 18 is now over and it's in the books, and the regular season's over, and NFL is going to roll into their playoffs. But
Mhm.
we had our own fantasy playoffs, and all the fantasy managers out there across the globe, you know, had their seasons come to an end as well. But we're going to go out with a bang. You know that calculator, a bang.
Yep,
All right, we have a
absolutely.
special. Yes, sir. We're gonna go over a lot. We're gonna just go back, give a take, and you calculate. You're gonna take us on a ride and give us some insight on, some players that did well and maybe some that didn't quite uh, do what they're supposed to do this season. But when we're also gonna like summarize our league, the listener league, the 401 Sports World Listener League, and we do have a special guest tonight as well. So
Yes. Yes, we
looking
do.
forward to this. All right, we'll do it right along the other side of our jingle.
Yeah, Mr. 411, I'm looking forward to the guests that you were able to bring on and for the show today, man. I'm looking forward to talking to him.
All right, yes, sir. And it was probably wasn't the winner that everybody thought it was going to be, but I'm certain that this individual, expected nothing but victory, and
Hmm.
we'll bring that individual on very shortly here, ladies and
Hmm.
gentlemen. Welcome to the 411 Sports World Show. I am Mr. 411. I'm feeling real cool tonight, and that's why you see me in my shades, a la Sean Puffy Combs, and any other celebrity you because when I walk in the street,
Yeah.
sometime calculator, a lot of people confuse me with Idris Elba and some
I,
other,
hey, I know it's a
some
tough
other
life
guys
for you,
out
Mr.
there.
411.
It's tough.
It's
It's tough, man. So sometimes I gotta hide my identity. I gotta put these shades on,
I got
so
you.
I can go to the grocery store, pick up some things from Publix and Kroger and things like
Okay,
that, man.
I
It's
got you.
rough out here. Yes, sir. But look, ladies and gentlemen, we still would like for you to do the major three things. And calculator, you know what they are.
Yes, sir. Like, subscribe, notify. So,
And Mr. 411 and Miss Lacey Dawson and everyone else. And stay on top of the fantasy information because we gave tons of nuggets this season.
mhm.
All right, without further ado, let's bring on our guest for tonight. He is the Listener League champion for the 2021 season. He goes by the name. His team goes by the name of the talented Mr. Ridley, and we definitely need to find out why. But without further ado,
Uh,
our champion, Brooks Case.
Hey,
What's going
hey,
on?
Mr. Brooks, or I'm sorry, the talented Mr. Ridley, I should say.
What's up,
The
guys?
talented Mr. Ridley. All right, man. Welcome. Man, welcome to the
Hey,
show. And
Mr. 41,
congratulations, champ.
can I get some of that congratulations for because I remember he was the guy I made a midseason trade with. I gave him a very valuable running
Oh,
back slash receiver,
okay.
Mr.
I'm certain we
Patterson.
can get into that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm certain we can get into that information. That
you
might have been
know.
the move of the year there. Yeah.
Oh
So,
man.
all right. So, how's it going?
Yeah,
How's it going, Brooks?
if I know McCaffrey was going to be out like he did at the end, I traded him when he came back, thinking, oh, I
Yeah.
got my running back depth now, and then sure enough, 2 games in, he's out again. It's like, ah, that could have been my ultimate downfall, Mister 411.
Well, happens to us all, calculator. And I
Mm.
think Brooks would love to thank you for that. And as he counts his money. But how you doing today, Brooks?
Oh, I'm good. I'm great. Dogs won a national championship yesterday, so feeling
Yes,
pretty good. Riding
yes,
high.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I'm surprised you even made the call today, man. I
yeah.
mean, we definitely appreciate you doing that because I mean, goodness, It's been 40 years, but they got it done, and they defeated the Alabama Crimson Tide, which is no easy feat in itself. So, great job! Congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs.
And another thing, Mr. 411, to not to plug the other podcast that we'd like to do on Crossing the Lines, I believe someone called them to win the national championship when they were at plus 750 at the beginning of the year. So also go back to that, like, subscribe, notify. If you are notified that we come out with some of these shows, it's in your best interest to get onto it as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. You did call it. Long time ago, Calculator.
Yep. Before the Clemson game.
Absolutely. All right. Well, there you go, Case. You get to look at some of your Georgia, some of the Georgia pictures there. Congratulations. You're riding high, man. Look, you're just all over the place, man. I know you're a Braves fan, so congratulations there.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you.
Calculator's a Braves fan. I mean, I don't know why you guys are that, but it's okay. But congratulations there. Georgia Bulldogs again, and then the Listener League. I mean, when is the winning stop?
I'm about to say, hey, Mr. Ridley, is there any other teams you like? We need to probably go to Vegas for them, Mr. 411, if he's riding a high streak like this.
Yeah. Do you like the Atlanta Hawks?
Yeah, I mean, born and raised in Georgia, so all the Atlanta sports teams, UGA, ride for all of them. So yeah, definitely a big Hawks fan.
Okay. Well, yeah, that might be our next move, Calculator. Let's look into this Ben Simmons for John Collins trade and see if that'll make the difference. Let's check on the odds on that too, so we can jump on that early.
Yeah.
All right. The talent, Mr. Ridley. Let's go ahead and explain to us, why did you come up with that name?
Well, it's a couple of different things. First of all, obviously, it's a Calvin Ridley reference, but also combined with a movie from the 90s, The Talented Mr. Ridley.
Yes.
So there you go. Combine those two.
Okay, awesome. All right, creative thinking there. My team is called Team 411, so, it didn't take much to figure that one out.
And I got to give a shout out to Talented Mr. Ridley that, true to his name, he drafts Calvin Ridley really early, but it didn't stop him. He worked the waiver wire. He made some moves to benefit his team. And, even though you might miss on some draft picks, you hit on others. Like he really hit on Deebo Samuel, picking him as late as he did. And Deebo was top 5 receiver throughout the year. So, it's kind of, interesting that it shows people that, hey, you could miss on a couple early draft picks, but if you prepare for the draft, hit later on in draft picks, and you make the moves you need to make throughout the year, good things can happen. And at the end of the year, Mr. Ridley was the hottest guy in the league. I mean, he was scoring. If you weren't scoring 140, you weren't beating him in the playoffs. He worked his way, got himself a nice bye, and then just went through everybody else in the playoffs. That 166 at the end of the year was very impressive in the championship.
That's extremely impressive, and that's great timing. I mean, you picked the right time to put up 166 there.
Yeah, and not only that, Mr. 411, what's even more impressive, he did it with Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterbacks. So that goes to show you he was getting help from everywhere in that championship.
Yeah, the talented GM. I mean, come on, it's all in the name. How did you feel about your initial draft, though, Brooks?
I felt okay. I mean, you obviously don't see. You didn't expect Deebo Samuel to be a top 5 guy, but it really evened things out with kind of Calvin Ridley, dealing with his issues and not playing a majority of the season. So, that really balanced it out. It's always good to have Nick Chubb, one of the best running backs in the NFL. And then Dak Prescott really took a chance on him. And he bounced back. He had that bounce back season, to get him where I did, I think I drafted him late. And so he really had a hot start too, kind of cooled off, but then, put up that 40-point game at the end to clinch the championship. So definitely key.
Yeah, and I think that was good picking up somebody. Okay, if you look at the history of Dak Prescott, he has always feasted against the NFC East teams. And with that
Yes,
new NFL schedule, he's playing division opponents at the end of the game. So it's a good bet that he's going to save his best ball for the end of the league,
Yeah.
end of the year. And I think Dak Prescott, I mean, 40 points in week
Yeah.
16, which was our championship week, was pretty amazing. And then Debo had almost 30 points. And then, of course, Nick Chubb had his great performance against Green Bay that week. So, and then, just to
Ooh,
top it off, looking at Mr. Ridley's week 16, I mean, he got double digits from his kicker and double digits from his defense. Folks,
Yep.
that's why you don't pick kickers early. You don't pick defenses early. You can stream these guys, and they can work for you based on matchup. Mr. Ridley proved
absolutely.
that it was a recipe for success. If you look at Ridley's matchup, I'm thinking Chubb was on his team, Debo was on his team, Dak Prescott. Those were probably the only starters on his team that he drafted, and Devontae Smith. I mean, he probably cycled through all these other. I know Russell Gage was a pickup, and he
Yeah,
was
Right.
off and on, but he was filler. I mean, he needed Russell Gage, after losing Ridley, after making various trades. But see, he showed that he stayed true to his form. A lot of people might have been getting discouraged with Dak Prescott when a lot of people his mini slump, so to speak, was much talked about after he come back from his injury. He was barely putting up double digits. But again, if you looked at the schedule, you looked at the history of how he did against the competition that was still remaining on his schedule, you stick with him. And then of course Chubb. I mean, oh man. I mean, he's always a stud. So, you know,
Yep.
and then of course he was able to fill out that running back position when Ridley and me made a trade earlier in the year. At the time I needed wide receiver help, and Ridley
yeah,
was confident as his wide receivers, as you could see. So but he needed running back help. Made the trade. He strengthened what he was perceived a weakness at the time, so that he could continue. And because you also still need to win during the regular season to get to the playoffs. And that's what he did. And then, of course, it helped him. He got that first round bye and then just went off in the playoffs. So, but very impressive, not only how he shows how you can navigate even through injuries, and even his thing, a medical leave of um, how you can mind relief. I really don't
yeah.
know what Ridley's thing was. A non-injury related leave, which was kind of odd. And but hey, didn't let him get down, and he showed that you can win even with it. Because I can assure you,
That's
I
right.
had Ridley in another league. I did not even get to the play. Well, yeah, I get to playoffs, first round exit in that league. Uh, Unfortunately for me. So, but he just shows it can be done. You just got to work the waiver wire, make trades, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. All right. Well, anything that you would like to discuss about Brooks that just throughout the season? You know, how did you feel about the season? How did you feel about any? Did you have any? You know, how did you feel about the trade? Like, did you come across? Was it your idea to make the trade, or did Calculator approach you with anything, or how did all that come about too?
Well, I mean, looking at the trade, I think it was a risky one for me. Justin Jefferson was a proven kind of
Yep.
top tier wide receiver, and you just haven't seen Cordell Patterson do it consistently. He's always been kick returner specialist. Nobody's really found a role for him, so I thought it took a lot of risk. Obviously I'm a Falcons fan, so
Mhm.
just how they were able to reinvent his career as a running back, and he was catching balls out of the backfield. He's so versatile, and that's kind of why I did the trade. He's versatile. He's going to get a lot of touches for a Falcons team that just doesn't have many offensive weapons. So
Yeah.
I took a chance. I like the versatility that comes with the wide receiver running back label. Gives your roster a lot of flexibility, especially during the bye weeks, that you can move him around, running back, wide receiver. So yeah. But like I said, I think I took a little bit of risk because he hasn't done it. He's not as proven a commodity as Jefferson. So
Yeah, and Mr. 4-1, I actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think I actually approached Mr. Ridley with the trade. And,
Okay.
reasoning from my side is I had at that time, McCaffrey was hurt, but he was coming back. Hubbard was my backup and stuff. So, but I was like, okay, because I actually picked up Cordell Patterson via free agency early on because of his versatility, just in case, and he worked out. But then I thought, hey, I didn't think I was going to fit him. I didn't think I was going to play him above McCaffrey and Jacobs in my starting lineup, and I felt good
Right.
about the player. So it's like, okay, at the time, he was a luxury for me, so that's why I thought, and that I was going for an upgrade player for player. So I was trying to hopefully his running back would be a selling point on, for this particular trade. I did look at different people. I had actually offered Cordell Patterson. There were two offers out there. I offered him Cordell Patterson to Mr. Ridley for Justin Jefferson, and I also offered him to Larry for Mike Evans. And me and Larry were back and forth. And what kind of me, well, I wanted to stick with Ridley was Larry actually declined the trade and went back for Cortland Sutton. And I thought of running back of mid value is more important. And at the time, Cortland Sutton was underperforming. And I really didn't like his rapport with Teddy Bridgewater. So that's why I kind of declined that and just I wanted to see what Mr. Ridley would do. And then Mr. Ridley accepted it before Larry could come back and wanted it, if he wanted to go back to Mike Evans. Although I'll be honest with you, I wanted Justin Jefferson above both of them. Justin Jefferson was the prize I really wanted. But if Mr. Ridley would have declined that, I would have moved on, because at the time, now everything's hindsight 50, 50, but, or 2020, whatever you want to say. I wasn't banking on McCaffrey going out. So I really could have used the running back depth later on. But it was definitely, I thought a trade that helped with both teams. But yes, I agree with Mr. Ridley. He definitely did take the blunt of the risk in accepting that trade. But hey, it worked out. He's a champion.
Yep, that's it. The man, So, what was your thought process when the playoffs hit, Brooks?
I was a little worried because late in the season, one of my Todd Hawkinson, which is one of the better fantasy tight ends this season. I mean, he was just banged up, so I was a little worried. I really didn't have, when tight end is such, you can't just replace a tight end. There's just so few of them that produce. So I was a little worried for that. But Hunter Henry kind of had some sporadically, he kind of up and down, had some big games when I needed him. But so I was a little nervous. I know DeAndre Swift also getting banged up too, so he wasn't always available too. So yeah. I definitely wasn't my confidence level wasn't that high. I did have had some injuries to key people who had helped me get to where I was to be able to get the bye.
That Hunter Henry pickup was great, especially in the first round of his playoffs. Hunter Henry that's when he had his 2 touchdowns.
Right.
25 points for a guy that he picked up off the way. I mean, that's impressive. I mean, that's why we have Waiver Wire Show every week, Mr. 41. We try to tell people
yes, sir.
It's there for a reason. Use it as a tool. That's proof enough.
Yep.
Hey, man, to that. Yes, sir. But yeah, so Mr. Ridley, we definitely, the talent Mr. Ridley, aka Brooks Case, we definitely appreciate you being on, man. We just wanted to bring you in. We wanted you to we want to go ahead and give you, your flowers, give you this moment because you earned it. You earned it, and you are you're the champion. Now, everybody, you got the big target on your back.
Yes,
we all
come back next
you.
year, Mr. Brooks.
Oh, definitely.
I'm drafting all Falcons. My first 3 rounds.
And then we can approach him for trades.
I'm a sucker for my Falcons now.
Yeah. Hey, I've always said, I've talked about Captain Cosmo, who's a listener league player. He's a huge Falcons fan as well. And one of the things we talked about when he first started playing, it's like we play fantasy. Yes, some people play for money, but also you try to play fun. So you do want to draft players that you're going to cheer for. It just makes it that much more fun.
Exactly.
So, and Mr. 41 can attest how devastated I was when he picked Marquez Callaway, because I'm a Saints fan from football, being from the Gulf Coast area. So with when he took my and Marquez, being that I'm now in Middle Georgia, and he went to school with my daughter and everything, being it's just kind of odd, and that he's home, one of Robin's grown, playing for my favorite childhood team. And then Mr. 401 does that to me. I'm still a little salty about that. But see, that's what you do. You can draft the players, have fun, draft players you want to cheer for. If you think Aaron Rodgers is a jerk, don't draft him. I will take him, but a lot of times drafting hometown players, I encourage it all the time, just because you're going to be cheering for them anyways. This makes it a little bit more worthwhile.
Yep, exactly.
Indeed. Yes, sir. Well, we definitely thank you for being on, and we appreciate your time. But we wanted to get you in for that opening segment, and we really appreciate you. Congratulations, and we'll see you soon, Mr. Brooks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks, Mr. Ridley.
All right, calculators, you and I.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we summarized the season. We talked about the season, and it was a great year. There was a lot of things, a lot of ups and downs for a lot of teams, but I think everybody battled and played all the way to the end, which is something that I like. And I mean, what a better example than right there of a team that played all the way to the end. The talent, Mr. Ridley.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, his second round pick, Mr. 401, was not hurt. He just decided not to play. But you know what?
Yeah.
You can't just not stop playing in fantasy football if you want to win. And so what he did, he went out there, he worked the waiver wire, he explored trades. Like I said, I made a trade with him and everything. So, I mean, he showed that it can be done. And then what happens? He loses his tight end once the playoff starts. The first week of playoffs, he had a bye. Luckily, Hawkinson, his top tight end, goes down. So what does he do? He goes and picks up Hunter Henry. He's like, hey, I'll give Hunter Henry. He catch touchdown. He catches 2 touchdowns in his first round of playoffs to prepare him to where he went and just went crazy with Dak Prescott and just Devontae Smith showing up. And I mean, it was impressive. Nick Chubb just sticking with him. He didn't care that he underperformed. It shows if you have a well-balanced team, you can overcome some not so good performances, because hey, he drafted Nick Chubb with his first pick. Nick Chubb paid it off with a big performance in the playoffs.
Paid off when it counted. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's what you got to do.
Yep. All right. Well, that was our league. But what about in general? I mean, what's some of your takes for the season?
If people look at the screen, we're going to talk about, since this is a fantasy recap show, we're going to talk about we every week we talk about studs and duds throughout the year, So, but I want to talk about overall. So I'm going to talk to people so that they can say why you stay with the draft later on in the draft. Because later in the draft, hey, let's go and look at the very first part of your draft. Okay, Christian McCaffrey hurt, Dalvin Cook hurt, Kamara off and on, but he was decent. Derrick Henry hurt, Saquon Barkley underperformance. Those guys, Ezekiel Elliott, underperformance. You're talking about a 60-70% miss rate with your first pick. So if you miss in the early on, DK Metcalf, early receiver, not hurt, just underperform. DeAndre Hopkins hurt. I mean, Ridley, you see all these early picks. So what do? Well, hey, you stay with the draft, right? Trey Sermon, early drift, bust, hardly played, right? Hey, Tom Brady, I would say he's a hit. You know why? Because people like Lamar Jackson was drafted ahead of him. You look at it, it's like, okay, Tom Brady, you could have got him or Matthew Stafford close together. But look at this, Deebo Samuel. You will see Deebo Samuel on a lot of championship teams, because a lot of at most people were drafting Ayuk ahead of him. Look at that. Cortland Sutton ahead of him. Juju ahead of him. Look at Kenny Golladay didn't have a touchdown for the whole year, and he was drafted ahead of Deebo Samuel. So if you get Deebo Samuel if you're and these are he was drafted at the end of the seventh on average, early eighth round in leagues. DJ Chark hurt. I mean, okay, look at running back. Okay, if you played the late running back game and luckily missed on those early running backs that got hurt, you could have gotten a Leonard Fournette, who, yes, he's hurt now, but he was carrying people throughout the year, especially after Ronald Jones's first fumble in the first game. Leonard Fournette was a beast for when he was healthy. But hey, you could do that. You drafted him in the eighth round. James Conner. Oh my gosh, yes, hadn't been very productive in the playoffs. He would have hurt you, fantasy playoffs. But hey, you didn't draft him to carry your team, but if you had him during the middle of the year when Chase Edmonds got hurt, he was money. You got him in the middle of the ninth round, right? Rob Gronkowski, the weight
Wow,
or
what a
late
win.
tight end, right? The great or like, well, guess what? He was greater than a lot of those greats. He was greater than number two tight end in DJ Waller. He was greater than the number three tight end, George Kittle. He was greater than number four tight end, TJ Hawkinson.
Yes,
The
sir.
only guy that was better at him was Mark Andrews, you know. So, but here's my question for one. I'm going to throw this back to you. Let's look
Yes,
fast
sir.
forward to next year, right?
Okay.
Who you drafting at number one tight end next year? You going with the old reliable, what you would think is Kelsey reliable, or a younger, but prior to this year, somewhat injury prone, Mark Andrews? I think that is the question a lot of people are going to ask themselves. What do you say? I know we're going to probably talk about recency bias, but to tell you the truth, recency bias is something that you need to have to kind of stick in your brain. So because all that can go away by the time next year comes around when you start seeing all the new information and stuff like that. But right now, are you drafting a Kelsey or are you drafting a Mark Andrews, Mr. 401?
Oh, Mark Andrews. I'm going Andrews, Cactus.
Okay.
And and more than just recency bias is bias because I had him this season, and,
that,
and he
that, that,
delivered.
that is
And he,
cool.
de- and he delivered for me all season.
Mm-hmm.
This didn't matter who the quarterback was, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
most impressive part for me. He was still putting up numbers, impressive numbers, regardless of the quarterback of
Yeah.
behind center. So I feel good with that.
Okay. And one of the steals of the draft, and you saw this on a lot of championship playing teams. King, I think you sent we were talking about in the production meeting, you sent out something and called him King Cup, right? So it's
Yes,
like,
the
but look at that
king.
average draft position. You were drafting Cooper Cup a lot of time. There you go. As your second wide receiver. All right. He was
Crazy.
he was going after Allen Robinson. He was going after Robert Woods, his teammate. He was going after Julio Jones, my friend. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Look at that. Most receptions, most receiving yards, most touchdowns, the triple crown, as they call it. But I mean, and only I think 20 yards. If Matt Stafford would have thrown him a 20-yard pass in overtime, he would have eclipsed Calvin Johnson for most yards in a game. But you got him as your number two
Ooh.
receiver. Okay, so I'm going to throw this back to you, Mr. 411. You were on the clock. You were in the first round.
Ooh.
You were in late in the first
Uh-oh.
round. Who are you drafting as your number one wide receiver? Are you drafting Cooper Cup? Are you going Devontae Adams, Mr. Always reliable Devontae Adams?
I'm gonna tell you, calculator, whether it's a PPR league or not, how can you not go with Cooper Cup at this point? I mean, this guy's a machine, and you
Mm.
know what? He's going to get the ball. Like he's proven that he's going to get the ball. He's a PPR machine as well,
So, Miss
and
Miss
I
for
just
one,
really feel good about that.
you're not scared at all if they bring all their receivers back that Odell could take possibly some touchdowns away and Robert Woods could take some of the intermediate routes away. You don't think that's going to cut into any of his production because Cooper Cup has never shown consistency like this since he's been in the league. However, he's never had Matthew Stafford as his quarterback. I understand he does
Exactly.
never had Sean McVay as his play caller. So yes, we could say, well, we have a small sample. I'll tell you right now, Mr. 41, even with recency bias, I'm going if Aaron Rodgers goes back to Green Bay, we know Devontae Adams is going back to Green Bay. They already said they're going to use the franchise tag on him. Aaron Rodgers is under contract. So if there's no traders, he'll be playing because he can't leave $40 million on the board. Kind of like this year, he kind of was had to play. So I'll tell you right now, in a non-keeper league, starting from scratch, I'm going with Devontae Adams just because he's had the consistency for multiple years, whereas Cooper Cup, yeah, if you remember, he had that injury prone label as well, kind of like Mark Andrews, where a lot of people,
Hmm.
that's why he slid into the 40. Everybody knew he could produce when he was healthy, but that was the key. I was an owner of Cooper Cup 2 years ago, and so that's why it bit me, and that's why he was off my draft board completely last year. This year, everything changed for me for Cooper Cup. I won 3 championships in 3 different leagues this year. In 2 of those leagues, Cooper Cup was on my team. So
Yeah.
and one of those, I was the fortunate. You want to talk about a triple thing, Terry? In my personal league, the league I run, my hometown league, I drafted Terry McLaurin as my first receiver. My second receiver I drafted Cooper Cup. My third receiver Jamar Chase. My fourth receiver,
Wow.
Debo Samuel. I drafted all 4 of those receivers. Debo Samuel was not even in my starting lineup in week 1. As a matter of fact, I didn't put Debo Samuel in my starting lineup until week 3. I got Debo Samuel as a luxury. And then, like I said, near the end of the year, Terry McLaurin, the first receiver I drafted, he was on my bench. So, it just goes to show you, if you hit on people and they can stay healthy, I had Jamar Chase 50 points in the championship week 17. And like I said, I drafted him as a flex player at that time, So, but again, a lot of people say, well, calculator, why'd you draft so many receivers at one time? Well, I was concerned with Cooper Cup, his injury history, and Terry McLaurin, he's never known to play 16 get regular season games either. So, those 2 guys, I wanted high ceiling type guys, but possibly if they got hurt, I'd back them up with a Jamar Chase, a young guy, and Debo Samuel, a consistent guy when he's healthy. See, I drafted guys that I could plug and play. Maybe they're nicked up and hurt, and I can cover. If I go 4 deep, I was just fortunate that I didn't have a lot of injuries. That they stayed pretty much
Yeah.
healthy
Yeah.
the whole year. So that's where good luck also comes to help when you draft well. Um, as well. So, okay, well,
Hmm.
I'm going to raise this question. Who's your number? We said Mark Andrews and Kelsey. Is Darren Waller outside your circle of trust for next year with his nagging injuries? Because if you think about it, he's been a consistent top 5 tight end 2 years in a row, with the exception of this year. Is he?
Yeah.
Is he? Is he? Who you doing,
I,
Darren Waller or Kyle Pitts?
wow, that's tough. Well, because with Kyle Pitts, I'm trying to use the crystal ball,
Mhm.
versus with Waller, as you stated, he's been solid for the previous 2 seasons. I would go with Waller because of that, because he is a proven commodity. Pitts for definitely has the upside, but we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be in Atlanta.
That's the crystal
And
ball that you
you
just
know what I'm
referenced.
saying?
That is correct.
Yeah. So that's the little concern that I have there. I know that the Raiders will throw to Waller when healthy, and he will be the receiver when healthy. And if they keep Deshaun Jackson, that's going to stretch the field as well. And so, I think I will go with Waller at this point, between those two.
Okay, Mister For One, I'm going to go the other side of that, and it's not that I'm kind of down on Waller, not because of his injury. I'm down because when he was injured, it looks like Derek Carr really won the favor of Hunter Renfro, and Renfro. Oh my gosh! You want to talk about a free agent pickup?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some free
He
agent
was
pickups.
awesome.
Let's talk about Hunter Renfro was on the waiver wire. As soon as Waller went down, I picked him up in 2 leagues, and he was just. I mean, he was because everybody said, "Oh, he's a PPR guy." He was catching touchdowns when Waller went out, and guess what? When Waller came back, they still went to Hunter Renfro in the end zone. So I think the Waller injury really opened up the eyes to people like Hunter Renfro. Now, we're not going to talk about Zay Jones. He's Zay Jones. Okay, we don't even know if he's going to be with the Raiders next year. I think the Raiders are really going to try and cultivate. Edwards, their draft pick. He's cheaper. He's got the draft pedigree. So but hey, Renfro, he's going to be in the waiver wire. Or he's going to be in the discussion for a top 32 wide receiver. And when we say top 32, we're talking about, top 24. But wide receiver one was, we're not going to put him in wide receiver 1 territory. And I think he's fringe wide receiver 2, maybe 3, because there is a lot of uncertainty of what he can do on a consistent basis with a healthy Waller. But I think he
Yeah.
really opened eyes. But I think it's one of those people where they kind of hurt each other. I'm down on Waller a little bit because of Hunter Renfro. However, I'm not as high up on Hunter Renfro because of Darren Waller. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of like they're both
It's a
kind of
a
holding
pull
each other
and
back. Yeah,
yeah, it's a pull. It's kind of a pull thing there. You know,
yeah.
pulling one
Another
way,
free
hurting the
agent.
other one.
Another free agent. How about St. Brown for the Detroit
Yes.
Lions? Goodness, he was doing that stuff with Jared Goff and Boyle. I mean, he was going. I mean, goodness, great. He's a rookie, and I mean, he was getting double-digit targets every week after he went off. Ever since the DeAndre Swift went down, they said, "Okay, we're just going to keep passing the ball more," and he kept producing. And not only did he catch passes, he ran in for touchdowns. He pulled his Debo impersonation, ran for a 20-yard touchdown in the championship week. So he was a free agent. Now, granted, nobody picked him up early. They kind of waited, but it was funny after his first double-digit point game, people still were kind of like, no, it wasn't until
Yeah.
that second where people started, taking chances. And it really wasn't his third game that he got double digits where people started putting him in lineups after that. So, but if whoever targeted him and got him. That's why hey, again, he was on our waiver wire show a couple times.
He
Especially
was.
after that second one, he hit our show. It's like, hey, this could be. And then I know we said, okay, if you didn't pick him up last year, last call was after the third week in a row. But yeah, we tried to hit him after that
Absolutely.
second call, saying, hey, and Mr. 41, we say, what do we say? Like, subscribe, notify. If you would have notified, if you hit that notification button, you're there. We do it before the waivers hit, so you could have gotten St. Brown after that second week if you needed wide receiver help. Another one,
Yeah.
he
He's.
was on our waiver wire show.
Oh,
Running
and by
back.
the way, calculate. And before
Yeah.
you announce that running back, St. Brown. I mean, for those who play in dynasty leagues, I mean,
Oh my.
you got to get them. I mean, you have to get
Yes.
them for the dynasty leagues. But carry on.
Oh, well, we're gonna go to the running back. An all important. Whoever could think a running back could carry you to a championship off a waiver wire? He was on our waiver wire show too. Rashad Penny. We said, hey,
Yep.
he wasn't healthy before. He's healthy now. Go and pick him up. And we actually, Mr. Robert. I don't even know what name he goes by. I mean, he was by the besties
The,
in,
the
in the
various
listener league.
names.
Yeah, for the people, the guy
He
that
has a
made it
name
to
for
you. I say we can't say his name. I'm just gonna say Robert because we don't know what name he goes by. But yeah, he had him in my local league that I have with him. He was the one that had King Henry go down. So he was just anytime a running back made a practice report, Robert was picking them up. And guess what? He kept doing it enough. And then Rashad Penny was on his team and he was riding him as far as he could. I don't want to, brag or bring attention to myself, but Robert was about to run into the Jamar Chase, Debo Samuel, Cooper Cup, buzzsaw eventually. But yeah, Rashad Penny, if somebody like, subscribe, notify, if you were notified, we highlighted Rashad Penny. He was a pickup a pickup that brought people championships because he was averaging 100 yards a game ever since he was inserted as the starter. So, but yeah,
Absolutely.
we're going over some of those. It's funny. I don't know how. Well, it says there Jamar Chase was a loss. Well, Jamar Chase was a loss, Mister 411. I mean, I would. Jamar Chase got 50 points for people in championship week. So, but oh, hey, well, you were a Saquon owner, were you not, Mister 411?
Man, was I? Yes. Will I ever be again?
Well, we know Miss
That was
Lacey.
very.
I get into quite a few leagues with Miss Lacey, and she was a Saquon believer too. And I think her final quote to me at the end, as she just missed the playoffs, she said, "Saquon Barkley is dead to me." So, so
Absolutely.
Lacey did not have fun. Hey, in the league I won, I did have Saquon Barkley on my team. I'm not gonna lie, I used my first round pick on him. But again, when you're combining him with Cooper Cup, Debo Samuel, Saquon Barkley, Tom Brady, I mean, Chase, Cup, Debo, and Tom Brady, and I even had Kyle Pitts as my tight end there. I mean, and then the New England defense, who was getting me double-digit points near when he's playing the Jets and he's playing Jacksonville and stuff like that. So stuff like that. I mean, Saquon Barkley was a miss. And I hate to say this, I watched it. It actually looked like Devontae Booker was better than Saquon Barkley,
Yes.
and and Devontae Booker, he ran behind the same offensive line, he ran with the same quarterback behind center. He was on the same team as Saquon Barkley. However, he was just not as Saquon Barkley was not as vicious as Devontae Booker. So
Yeah.
and I like
Absolutely.
this these
I
running
mean,
backs. Was this I mean, these are great takeaways. Um, I don't know. Darrell Williams is great. See, I mean, Darrell Williams Williams did everything that CEH was drafted for, which
yes.
is kind of crazy. He was a great goal line back. He is a great pass catcher. But you know what the difference between Darrell Williams and CEH? Darren Williams is on the field.
Yes.
Darren Williams isn't getting hurt. So CEH, I'm sorry, it's been, I almost want. I'm about to put him in the fragile Fred category for the people that have been playing for a long time. Fred Taylor was one of the probably greatest fantasy quarterbacks people's never heard of. Well, the reason people never heard of him
Oh, the
because he
running
couldn't
back.
stay on the
Yeah.
field. Yeah, out of
Yeah.
out of Florida, and he was Jacksonville. But I remember, I will tell you right. I'll tell you a story about old Fred Taylor just to give people. I was in a keeper league. Everybody had already declared their keepers. We were about to have our auction draft. And it was one of these auction drafts where you can bid all your money on one player, and then you got to just pick from the rest of the group after everybody else has bid money on people. But it was right after Fred Taylor ran for a 72-yard preseason touchdown. Preseason, mind you, touchdown. And I still remember the guy's name is he was on there. He said, Fred Taylor, $100 was our max. He said, Fred Taylor, $100.
Ooh,
and,
we.
and,
Oh,
yeah. And guess what? Week 3, if I'm not, it was week 3 or 4. Fred Taylor tore his hamstring from the bone, hamstring injury, pretty much out for the rest of the year.
yeah.
And I see, I mean, I'm sorry. And then after that injury, which was his third injury, because he could never stay healthy before. So everybody thought he was going to buck the injury bug. That in year 3, he was termed Fragile Fred, and I'm thinking CEH could be in that category. The thing is, Rashad Penny was in that category. He was in the
Yeah,
fragile
he was.
category. He come and he'd take a practice rip, and he's back on the injury list.
He was
So
fragile. He
but
was fragile this season.
yeah, yeah, you're right. And every time he took one, they said, I remember he was on our waiver wire show. We said, oh, Rashad Penny's supposed to show up. You might want to pick him up. And
When?
this was week 3. And it's like, oh, he's back on the injury report, back on IR, for 3 weeks. But then he comes in, and that's why a lot of people were hesitant. But we said, hey, when you're going into playoffs and you need running backs, you just pick a guy up, and if it don't work out, it don't work out. You didn't, you tried, but I don't know if the Cordell Patterson hype is over, Mister 411. What do you think? I mean, I mean, I remember when he was a big deal in Minnesota, and then he kind of
Yeah.
had the next year he was off of the radar. But I mean, what do you think
Well,
about Cordell Patterson? You're a Falcons
I
fan.
well, stop there for a second. Seahawks fan. Seahawks
No,
fan. Calculated.
I
But
know.
still,
Hey, I know,
I know,
man.
but to answer your question there about Cordell Patterson, I mean, it's as Brooks was saying earlier, versatility. If he's going to be a wide receiver / running back next year as well, I mean, you have to at least keep him on your board.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, will he be able to hold up as a running back next year? And I think that's the thing that I wouldn't say the hype is over, but I would I would just keep an eye on that situation because
Yeah.
it's different when you're a running back. You take a
Yeah.
lot of hits as a running back,
Mm.
and if you're not a running back, you didn't come into the league as a back. That's something to look at. I think if he's used less as a back, more as a receiver, but just enough for the
Yeah.
back reps that he can become a wide receiver / running back, then I think you're fine with Cordero. But if he gets a heavy load or a heavy work rate, I would kind of stay away from that.
Mhm.
What do you think about
Well,
Mitchell?
and I'm staying away from him if he loses that RB tag, because
Yeah.
our reigning champion said it best. Said yes, when he traded me Justin Jefferson, he wasn't trading player for player because he knows, yeah, Justin Jefferson is a better player. He traded so he could have that running back depth on his league,
Yes.
so that when he had a running back, which, as we saw, could go down very easily, he had a running back that he knew was going to get guaranteed touches, that could score touchdowns, uh, that had the running. But that's the difference between Cordell and Debo. Debo didn't have the running back thing by his name. Cordell did.
Right.
So people have to look at that, and we'll go over that in our preseason show. Look at your settings, look at who's, the positions these people are playing, and then base your draft strategy on that. And also another free agent pickup, Elijah Mitchell. People were picking
Yes,
him
sir.
up after week one. People, because everybody in preseason, I showed my spreadsheet. People were drafting Trey Sermons like crazy. I'm talking about into the fifth round, Trey Sermons, because they knew a running back in a Mike Shanahan system is a stud. And we knew Mustard was going to get hurt. He's in the fragile Fred category, and sure enough, he, after his second carry, even though it went for 40 yards, he was out for the season. And
Yeah.
then Elijah Mitchell was the next guy up. But he was, and that's why I'll tell you right now, Mister 41, I loved Trey Sermon. I did. But you know why I didn't draft Trey Sermon? I didn't draft Trey Sermon because he was a Mike Shanahan. There he is. He was in the seventh round. I apologize. I was thinking fifth round.
Wow.
But I did not draft Trey Sermons clearly because he was a 49ers running back. I did not draft uh, Mustard, because he was a 49ers running back. And you know why I didn't pick up Elijah Mitchell? Even
Right.
though I knew he was, because he was a Mike Shanahan running back. I do not pick up. I'm sorry. I have been. It's one of those fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That is the thing I go by. And Mike Shanahan has really screwed me over too many times for me to count. So that's why, hey, I'll just let somebody else. Hey, if they reap the rewards, congratulations. But you know what? I'm not going to be stuck with it. I have other things to worry about than if my coach is going to be do his thing and screw me over again. And he does it all the time. Just when you don't think, just when you decide to start Justin Wilson, he does crap because he's giving all the goal line carries to Debo Samuel. So you put Justin Wilson after you've held on to him all year, and then he goes and scores 2 touchdowns while you're on his bench because of Mike Shanahan. So yeah, I don't do him, and I don't do Bill Belichick running backs. Those are guys I do not draft. I don't
Right.
draft those guys. Well, I might draft them, but I ain't drafting them to be starters. I can assure you that.
Oh yeah, 'cause you don't know which way that's going to end up going.
Yeah,
And,
those
and
those
to put a pretty and to put a pretty bow on Penny, right? Being a Seahawk fan, one of the things that was a big concern for me, um, not only well, actually looking forward towards the off season, and this is before Penny, came back and started playing, was that what Seattle needs is a running back. They need a running back that can really take a lot of pressure off of Russell Wilson and not really have to rely on Russell throwing 3, 4 touchdowns a game. And if Penny can be that kind of back, if he can be like he was the last couple weeks of the season here, if he can do that next season in real
yeah,
football and in fantasy football, I think it's
yeah.
going to benefit the
Well,
Seahawks.
Mr. 4-1, just look what one of the best, hottest teams in the league was the Seattle Seahawks at the end of the year with a healthy Rashad Penny. I mean, they just took it to Arizona, and Arizona had something to play for. Arizona had the division they were playing for, and
Absolutely.
the Seahawks. Arizona could not stop Russell. When Russell Wilson has a somewhat resemblance of a running game, That is where Lockett is so dangerous and Metcalf is so dangerous. So people want to talk about why Metcalf had such an off week. Well, they didn't have a running game when Chris Carson was hurt, so everybody could concentrate. A lot of people could talk about Russell Wilson's finger injury. Yeah, that's fine, but let me tell you, he still had that same finger. People could say it healed. That type of injury does not heal while you're still throwing the ball. What healed for the Seahawks was their running game, and when Rashad
Yes,
Penny
sir.
provided a running game, Russell Wilson was able to cook. And that's always
Yeah.
been Russell Wilson. Wilson has always been effective when Chris Carson's been healthy. That's when they've thrived. But when Seattle had to throw Alex Collins out there, and I
Yeah.
love DJ Dallas, but DJ Dallas is not a starter. I mean,
Yeah.
Alex Collins. I mean, this is I cannot say that enough. After Chris Carson's injury, that was
Yeah.
I'm telling you, people can talk about the Russell Wilson injury. I'm talking about the lack of the running game that hurt the Seahawks. Because let me tell you, when Rashad Penny was hot, Seattle was beating people.
Yeah. And I'm gonna factor that into next season, man. I'm gonna
You got
factor
to,
that in as well.
got to.
And there's your chase right there, man.
Yeah. I mean, and can anybody deny? I mean, and hey, Mr. 4-1, we were talking on draft day, were we not? And I said, and I'll say I was wrong. I said the Cincinnati Bengals should have drafted that tight end Pinay from Oregon. I said he's one of the best ones to come out in the
Oh
past
yeah, the old
5
lineman. Yeah.
years. Yeah,
The
I mean,
old
what he's
lineman. Yeah.
even though I was wrong on that. Oh, I mean, it looks like Slater from Northwestern that plays for the Chargers is the better prospect. However, but and then you gave me that little meme of Joe Burrow getting sacked,
Yeah.
on the result and said, "This is Joe Burrow next year," and here he is getting
Yeah.
sacked again. I, Hey, I was wrong. Jamar Chase shows that Joe Burrow. I mean, I that's why Cincinnati knows more than a lot of us. They felt good with the offensive linemen, the free agents they brought in. Hey, Jamar Chase shows that he can be. You want to talk about floor? The only thing bad about Chase is he did have those games where Higgins was featured, and then you're always going to have Boyd taking things away and mixing a good passing catch. But Jamar Chase showed in week 17, 50 points, 200. He
Yeah, man.
was looking like Randy Moss. He showed when he gets in the open field, you ain't catching him.
It's
So
over.
it was impressive. Amon St. Brown, you can safely draft him if he can do what he did with Boyle as quarterback. Yeah, his future is bright. I like St.
Yeah, it's
Brown.
bright.
He is a legit number one wide receiver. Brandon Cooks. I
With
mean,
David Mills.
it's hard for me to say that with a straight face, Mr. 411, because this is Davis Mills we're talking about. But hey, Brandon Cooks is a star wide receiver because he's the only wide receiver on the Houston Texans. But I don't know. Amendola did his best week 18. Saved his best for when fantasy playoff isn't being played. But yeah, I like Brandon Cooks. He'll be solid as long as he stays in Houston, and continues to be a target hog. And again, DK Metcalf goes back to what we said earlier. He is a star. He is a threat. He is uncoverable when people and teams have to concentrate on Seattle's, run game. So
Absolutely.
here you go, Mr. 4-1. Who are you going with next year? DK Metcalf or Amon St. Brown?
Ooh, Well, I'm gonna pull a talent, Mr. Ridley, on that one. I'm gonna go with Metcalf, being a Seahawk fan. So
We can see how.
I'm
So
gonna go
so
with
that
Metcalf.
that's your tiebreaker on that.
That's my
Okay,
tiebreaker. I
I
think. I
got
mean,
you.
I look forward to St. Brown next season, and maybe
Mhm.
I can get both. You know.
Yeah, and I think Metcalf does have the higher ceiling, but St. Brown, you want to talk about consistency. I mean, and
Yeah, you can't
definitely
lose with him.
Detroit. I'm thinking Detroit's going to draft a defensive lineman with their first pick. They got a couple. They got the guy they can do in the middle for the Mister 99 from the Georgia Bulldogs. Which I mean, you can't move that guy. That guy is just a beast in there. And then you have the defensive end out of Alabama who can rush, who can cover, who can pretty much do it. And then of course you have the defensive tackle Hutchinson from Michigan. Look for Detroit going on the other side of the ball because there's no elite quarterback that they're going to draft. There's no elite wide receiver. They like their wide receivers, and we know they have depth at running back with DeAndre Swift in there too. So they have to defense. So hey, is that defense going to be enough to where they're not in shootouts? I think not. There's still going to be other deficiencies elsewhere. So they're still going to need to throw the ball. So I'm actually, if I have a choice between Metcalf, St. Brown, at this time, it could be recency bias talking, and people could be saying, calculated, crazy. And, but hey, you know what? Even though I think St. Brown's better than Metcalf, and I would take him over him if I have to choose between them, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm going to pay attention to average draft position. If I'm seeing St. Brown going in the fourth round, I'm not going to draft him in the second round. I'm
Right.
going to possibly wait till the third round and see. Even though I like him so much, I can pass on Metcalf in the second round if that's where his draft position is, and wait to get my guy in the third round, which could be a round higher than average draft position. So average draft, and again, if you miss out on St. Brown and you're going by average draft position, you did the right thing. You're not going to, just like you drafted Marquez Callaway 4 rounds ahead of his average draft position,
Yeah.
So, but hey,
not one, not two, not three, but 4.
and I will continue to point that out, Mr. 411. So knowing I'm a Saints fan, and you did that, I almost think you did that to spite me, Mr. 411. But no, it's one of those. It's all in fun. But yeah, you use the average draft position as a tool. You don't go. If you want somebody, use average draft position, and trust the process. If it doesn't work out, you can at least revel in the fact that, hey, I trusted the process.
Absolutely, calculator. And man, we're brushing up towards the end of this show already, man. And it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. But we had a great season. Great season. And before we get out of here, we got about 4 minutes remaining. I have to do this. I have to get this
Absolutely.
in. Heavenly Spa Mobile, 2484 Ingleside Avenue, Building A, Suite 101-A, Macon, Georgia 31204. Latonya can be reached at 478-747-9231. That's 478-747-9231. Heavenly Spa Mobile, where relaxation is what, calculator?
Is the key.
It is the key.
Hi, I'm Latonya with Heavenly Spa Mobile. I'm a licensed massage therapist and owner. I've been practicing 18 years. If you're in need of any stress relief, tension, muscle, body aches, or just want to relax, you need to get yourself a massage. And please come check me out again at Heavenly Spa Mobile. I'm located at 2484 Ingleside Avenue. And I can be reached at 478-747-9231. Or you may go online to heavenlyspamobile.com. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Miss Tanya.
Best
of the best, Mr. 41. Best of the best.
The best of the best. Back to back to back. All that good stuff, calculator. Any closing remarks here?
No, Mr. 41, I enjoyed the season, and just want to, thank all the listeners out there for, posting their questions. We enjoy the questions, and always, I thank you, Mr. 41, for the work you do. I know, it's like, being producing and hosting can be quite a job, and you do it all, in conjunction with everything else you do. A lot of people don't know the work you have to go through, but I do, and I appreciate all the work you put into it.
Man, that's very nice of you to say, calculator, and definitely I thank you for all the knowledge that you're willing to share. I mean, this gentleman here played. I mean, I don't lost count how many leagues that this gentleman plays in, and as you can tell, the reason why he's a calculator. Just listen to him. It just spits out of there. You throw it in there and it comes out, and the calculator delivers. So I thank the calculator for all his hard work. Great season, calculator. And the listeners definitely enjoy it. We thank the listeners. Like you said, I can't echo that any better. We thank everybody who watched our show, listens to our show, like, subscribe, notify, and all that good stuff. So just go through our archives, check out a lot of shows, and we'll pop up from time to time. Don't think that we're gone, because there's still some daily out there too. So you never know. So Just if you hit that like, subscribe, notify, you'll be there when we're there.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, for the calculator, I am Mr. 411, and we thank you for listening to the show, watching, and all the good stuff, and enjoy the NFL playoffs. We'll see you on the other side.
Bye, everyone.